I say this with such adamant confidence that your relationship will never be as successful as it could be if you are not willing to talk about your own mental health.
Welcome back to another episode of Girls Gotta Eat.
Welcome back.
We made it past the 3-year mark.
We made it. So we'd like to inform you guys, this is going to be our last episode.
This is over, guys.
We had a 3-year goal. We had a 3-year plan.
Who wants to do anything longer than 3 years?
What if we did that?
We're
like,
the same person for 3 years.
Last episode alert.
I gotta tell you, I was opening up my photos to read this email to you that I screenshot, and like right in the front is this dick pic that I got recently.
Oh my God.
And it's in my phone twice. Why am I out here saving the same dick pic twice?
It was in my phone twice when you were airdropping me photos from something and you just included those. I hate you. I hate when you do that shit. And then it says accept, and that's the first one. So I have to hit accept to get the other ones.
That is get
it out of here. Listen, we're going to talk about it in a couple weeks. I don't want to just in case this doesn't come to fruition, we have a guest we are so excited about coming up.
Okay, here's my hint. I have spent hundreds of days in hotels with him.
Everybody knows
on television.
Everybody knows now because we talk about that we watch that show. Well, actually,
you guys don't know now.
We have 2 shows we watch in hotels. We watch Catfish and CSI. So it could be
Detective Stabler,
somebody from CSI, or me from Catfish. I don't know. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it.
I'm so excited. I feel like all my dreams are coming to fruition. We have great episodes coming up for you guys. We are so excited about, and today is no exception. We have Kelsey Darragh. She's phenomenal. We're talking about anxiety, panic disorders, dating with those things. We're really excited to have her.
She is a dream. I love her so much. We already recorded this a couple days ago, and we got off the Zoom with her, and I missed her immediately. I was like, Kelsey, come back. And then she followed me back on Instagram, and I think we're going to go on her podcast.
Yeah, I messaged her this morning.
You did?
Yeah, we're becoming friends.
What?
This is what happens every time I text somebody. Ashley's not a part of it. Like sometimes I'll text our agents, and she'll be like, "What were you talking to them about?"
We have a group text. Why would you on the group?
I'm not. No one's on more group texts with another person than I am with you.
Yeah, I think there's like 50. Like when I start to type in your name,
Ashley.
Yeah.
Okay, we got an email I wanted to tell you about that's so funny.
Okay. Is this a merch email?
It's a merch email. You guys know I don't like to glorify your stupid merch emails. Because I feel like it encourages more people sending stupid merch emails. But this was funny, and we're CC'd on the support just so we can manage the merch. Also, keep buying the merch. So the title in all caps is Rayna and Ashley Don't Hate Me, Please. And I was like, what did this bitch do? So she says, hey, with 4 Ys. So she wants to fuck.
You got to that joke before I did. I was like, okay, we just got a booty call.
4 Ys means like she wants to do anal.
Okay.
So let us do anal.
Yeah, because is hey with Y's anal and high with a bunch of I's? That's just regular sex.
I thought it was just the amount of I's denotes how much dirty stuff you're gonna do.
Okay.
Like how much you want to fuck.
But high with a bunch of I's is like I'm a good girl.
Is it?
No. But I'm just saying like you're trying
Hey feels naughtier.
Hey feels like let's fuck right now. Hi could be like, what are you doing? And then you like get there.
Yeah. Okay, 4 Ys. So I know it makes you guys kind of salty when people message you about orders and how stupid they are when they mess up bad. Well, hey, I'm one of those people now, I guess. In all caps, I was finally able to order the new merch. So pumped. Somehow PayPal fucked up my address. So 5 O's. That's her beehole. All the O's are her beehole. I'm looking to change that as that's my damn ex's house, and I will be so pissed if his new girl opens this, and I fucking know she will. Anywho, smiley face, here's my new address.
Okay. That's amazing.
It made me laugh so hard. Can you imagine she accidentally sends the merchandise to her boyfriend, her ex-boyfriend, and his new girlfriend?
Okay. Back before you, when I had a merch business before with like Bros Being Basic. I would like sell all this merch. And the story was basically I got like there was it was like $150 merch order, which is a lot of money. This is a significant order.
Oh yeah,
you know, like my income was coming like partly from the merch I was selling. Like I was like, and I saw that it got taken back out of my account, like disputed, like the buyer disputed it with Amex, and Amex like took it back out or whatever, like, or the whatever credit card. And I was like, what is going on here? And then I had like an email, and bottom line, it appeared that this girl had bought a bunch of merch on her boyfriend's credit card, and then they like broke up, and he like disputed the charge. It was like this fucked up thing. And like, I was getting all these emails. I was like between them, and I was just fucking pissed because I was like, you bought it, you got the merch, and now he gets to like dispute it because y'all broke up. And he was like messaging, he was like, she stole my credit card. I was like, I don't care, but like, you guys need to give me that money. Like, I'm a small business.
That's
it was nuts. And I just like, I can't remember all the details. I remember getting like bombarded with emails from these two people.
You're in the middle of a
couple fight. I was like, that's unfair. The merch was delivered. You have it. And now you were taking money out of my pocket.
Because you guys can keep your relationship together.
Yes. He was like, she stole my car. I'm like, I don't care. Get better control of your finances.
Can you imagine emailing the Gap and being like, listen, my boyfriend and I broke up. Like, no, people are like, I don't need this information.
And I was so pissed at Amex.
Also, what if that guy's new girlfriend is a GG fan and he was like, I bought it for you.
Right. I know. I just love that's the reason is that I was like going to go to her ex's house.
I was like, say no more, fam.
Yeah, we got you.
I like, she was like, I know you guys get really salty.
No, but it's funny because we used to complain about this stuff, and then didn't you like put in something wrong for some online order? Or I did. One of us like really fucked up, and we were like, okay, well, it happens to everybody.
I don't remember what it was.
And then the other day I was going, this was in the Where Are They Now episode, the bonus episode from a couple days ago. I was going through the Where Are They Now emails, like in a folder. We put everything in folders so we can like easily sift through them and keep them organized. And I saw an email from Grubhub.
God damn it, I forgot how you forgot about this.
And I saw an email from Grubhub for an order that you ordered. The receipt was coming to your personal email. I don't know how it was in our folder. Do you know how it got there?
Okay, first of all, Ashley and I share a bunch of email addresses. So like, you know, we produce the show. We have a booking email address. We have a shopping email address. We have merchandise, all this stuff. So I spend all day shuffling emails from like one email to the next and putting it in folders. That is what my job at the podcast is, organizing the emails. And so I must have just accidentally sorted it into a different email address and into the Where Are They Now. But Where Are They Now was Raina Greenberg sitting alone at home ordering 4 slices of artichoke pizza. That's where Raina Greenberg is.
Yes, it was from Artichoke. It was just so funny. Like, I was reading all these incredible, inspiring stories about where people are now, and then it's like Raina's Grubhub
That's
order.
Where Raina. That's where Raina is now. And it wasn't like a nice salad order. It was 4 slices of pizza.
Artichoke pizza. Girl, that's a lot of food.
I know. I get scared. I get carried away. I like everything they make.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
That was so funny. You guys sent us amazing emails. Thank you. We're trying to get to all of them, but all of your support over the last 3 years is so wonderful. We appreciate your support for the 3-year episode.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The response was great. So we love you guys.
Yeah. So we're gonna do something in the intro today. We got one of your emails. We just want to unpack it, and then Ashley has like a recent story that we're gonna talk about and just give some advice. And do you want me to read it to you?
Yeah. Are you talking to me, or that was rhetorical to the listeners?
Rhetorical.
No, go on.
That's for everybody. Okay, it's very short, which we can't stress this enough. Keep them short.
Brevity.
I don't know what that word means. Okay, the title is "What is Wrong with Men?"
Okay, I mean, that should be just the episode title for anything.
The new podcast.
That's new podcast. Oh yeah.
Hi, ladies, big fan here. Help me figure this stuff out. So when I can't figure out this guy, I figured you guys would be the best to ask. What kind of man turns down a friend with benefits situation? We started as friends who fuck, but he says he quote unquote has a lot of shit going on, so we should just be friends now. What? With a bunch of question marks, exclamation points. Is he human? What kind of man ruins a good thing? What should I do? Thanks.
So they were already friends with benefits. So they were already fucking. So it's like, I don't know, girl. You think that was going to last forever? Like those things end. They end. Like you don't just be friends who fuck forever. Mm-hmm. You know, like somebody starts dating somebody, or somebody just gets tired of it, or somebody just is like, I don't feel like doing this anymore. No, on both sides, whatever party, like that to me has an expiration date. This wasn't like her trying to make a friends with benefits situation. it was trying to continue something they were already doing that like is something that is not going to last forever.
Yeah. I mean, there can obviously be 1,000 reasons. I think that our narrative about men is that they all just want to fuck every single person. Pussy's pussy. We got to beat all the pussies. And like, maybe this guy's just like, I think this has run its course and I'm not going to just like string this person along forever because like I like her as a person. But like, maybe he's like, I feel like she caught feelings a little bit. I don't have feelings. I'm not catching them. Or like, maybe he caught feelings and he's like, she doesn't want anything besides friends with benefits.
Or maybe he caught feelings for somebody else.
Yeah.
Like maybe he's just like, okay, we did this. It was fun while it lasted. And now I like met somebody on Hinge or, you know, whatever. Like there's a million different reasons. You could ask him, like, it's probably not that he just has a bunch of stuff going on, but also I do know guys that are like really into sex and it becomes a distraction for them in their lives. And I've heard many guys that are like, it's affecting like my career, other relationships in my life. And they like kind of put a pause on sex while they like focus on other things. So I don't know what's going on in his career, but that's definitely a thing. And that I know that from having like so many guy friends that are very open with me. Like if he's like, okay, like I've been fucking this girl and it's just kind of like, I got sex on the brain. Like it's time for me to like buckle down at work or whatever. Like that could be a thing too, where he really just has a lot going on. I don't know what's going on with his family. Somebody could have COVID. I mean, you never know what's going on. Like he could just be like, this friends with benefits thing is just not working for me in my life right now. I do have a lot of other shit going on that I need to prioritize. You never know.
You never know. And there's also like, I'm thinking of a really good guy friend of mine. He always has like 3 girls in the rotation that he's sleeping with. And I think that like when one gets a little too serious and he's like, I'm just not trying to like have anybody catch feelings for me at all because I do not want to commit to anybody at all whatsoever. I think he just hits the pause button, you know, like some people just, they're just done with the experience, you know? And it doesn't
You're
mean
totally
you're
right.
not,
There could be other friends with benefits.
Yeah, other friends with benefits.
Somebody might have slipped into the top slot.
And there's nothing wrong with you for being the kind of person that like is like, I want to keep fucking. What's the big deal? Like, there's nothing wrong with you. That doesn't mean you're not like attractive and fun and cool and smart. Like somebody can just be done with it. Not every guy needs to want to be in every pussy all the time.
Yes. And I don't know how close their friendship is. She didn't specify, but if this is her close friend and she wants to keep the friendship somehow, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's going to be a little bit difficult after they've just like been boning it up, but like it can be done. Like I think we've fucked friends of ours before that we're close with now. We talked about it before. I think she could have a conversation with him, but she can't lead with that attitude. So she can't lead with, you're not a real man if you don't want to fuck me anymore.
What? Are you not human?
You are? Yeah. Are you human? Yeah. So if she really wants to salvage the friendship, I think she can rein it in, realize that this is not working for him anymore, respect that, and go to him with like, hey, like obviously the friends with benefits thing wasn't working anymore. I know you have a lot going on, but I really would love to know, like, is there something else that I still want to maintain the friendship. Is there something else you just want to open up to me about? I'm here. I'm not judging. Like, I'm fine with this ending, but like, I would like to maintain our friendship. If not today, then down the road. So like, I just kind of want you to be like transparent with me, but like, you have to be open and willing to hear the truth and kind of nix this like, fuck you attitude before you go there.
I think that it's probably what's frustrating to her is this like this feedback of like, I just have a lot of stuff going on. It's like, well, you didn't have a lot of stuff going on before when you were fucking me. And it's like, I understand feeling like that's not enough of an answer for you.
Yeah.
But like, I have a situation with somebody that I was not sleeping with, but it was somebody I met who I was attracted to and I did want to sleep with. And I was like, what's the deal here? Like, we have so much fun. Like, we love flirting with each other. We're clearly attracted to each other. And he was just like, because I really like our friendship and I want to be friends. I want to continue being friends. I'm not going to be in a serious relationship with you. I'm just not. And like, I'm so glad now in like retrospect that he said that. I didn't like it in the moment because it made me feel like, am I not good looking enough to fuck me? But like,
it's not about that.
We actually are really good friends. And I watch the way he is with other girls and I don't want to get treated like that. And like, I feel like, oh my God, I dodged this bullet and like I get to have this like best friend in this person who I like have no weird sexual stuff with, and like I'm like, thank God he stopped me from doing that.
Yeah,
I'm happy about it.
Totally.
And nothing can ever be misconstrued now. Like if I'm flirting with him a little bit or I give him feedback about a girl, like it's not because I'm jealous or anything like that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And then if you guys want, we did deep dive on this on an episode probably in 2019 called Should You Fuck Your Friends? So Should You Fuck Your Friends? I think 2019. Yeah. I don't think it was 2018. So this kind of does dovetail into like this story that I kind of wanted to share on the podcast just because it was like something dating related that you and I talked about. But this was a situation that happened to me not too long ago, probably more closer to the summer, fall maybe. And this was with a guy that like I had dated casually and it didn't end badly. It just kind of like fizzled out, you know, COVID happened, things like that. And we still would chat here and there. We did sort of reconnect and go on a date this summer, but like, it's not somebody that I saw dating seriously, I know he felt the same way. So I was thinking that it would be like a good booty call situation. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think either of us were going to catch those real feelings, and we had like great sex, whatever. So I did try to booty call him one day with the best line. And I'll read that for you guys here. Okay, this is in October. So this is like earlier in October. And I said, oh my God, I hate myself. Okay. I said, this is true. This is what happened to me that day. I said, I just got sugared and a negative COVID test. What are you doing tonight? With like this tongue out, like winky emoji, like the like,
Couldn't have been more clear.
Sugared is bikini wax, whatever. He knew that. And and I was like DTF. Like I was like,
no, I couldn't tell.
The body's clean. Like everything's healthy. Pussy's like bare, ready to go. And he wrote, haha, this is the ultimate 2020 pickup line. And I was like, so
what's the fuck? Okay, so I made you laugh. Are you coming over? Are you bringing that dick over?
And this is a guy that like, you know, he does work in comedy. Like he does that probably, you know, whatever. Well, we'll get to it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I felt rejected. I was like, there's nothing else for me to do here. Like, I'm not going to be like, hey, I was serious. So, you know, I didn't know if that was him just deflecting or whatever. And then the next day he sent me, in the morning, like the next morning, he sent me like a song that like we had heard on one of our dates, kind of like
not one that he wrote.
This song made me, he wrote a song for me called I Never Want to Fuck You Again. No, he was like, this just came on my Spotify, made me think of you kind of thing. And I was like, what the fuck? And so I wrote, rejecting a booty call, then following up with a song is an interesting move. And he goes, wait, that was a booty call? And he was like, I just thought it was a good joke, which it was. And I go, like, no, I was not running a bit by you.
This is so funny. This is like the third time we talked about this. It's just as funny.
And then at that time, he does kind of like does jobs with a guy friend of ours and a mutual friend of me and Raina's. And he said, I'm with him right now, our mutual friend. And he said to me, you're blowing it. And so he told him the story, which I fully know that this guy like is just kind of clueless. I knew that before. Like, I don't know that he would have come over and fucked me that night, but I do actually believe that he didn't think I was serious. And that's what I think he even told our guy friend, and our guy friend was like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? And I just like emphasized the text, like exclamation point, and was like, I'm done with this. Like, I should have been done with it. You know what I mean? Like those things really don't work out perfectly. Like, maybe I would have caught feelings. Maybe he would have, you know what I mean? Like, it's not what you think. It just was like, I had not fucked somebody in a long time. I was COVID free, just got my pussy waxed. Like I was ready to go. But this reminds me, this is like kind of a 2-part story. This reminds me of, I'm reading John Berger's new book called Make Your Move, which is, we had him on the show a couple weeks ago and we talked about his new book. The book is incredible. I cannot recommend it enough, but there's this part in the beginning of the book that talks about how guys can be really clueless and not understand when a woman is hitting on them. And guys were polled and they answered the question, what's the most obvious hint from a girl you've missed? And all these guys shared their answers. We could do a deep dive on this like at another time.
So funny.
And it was just like all these guys honestly answered. This guy said, I had a girl ask me once if I wanted to sleep with her. It was nearly a year later that it occurred to me that she might have been serious.
Oh my God.
This one guy, the girl said, want to share a taxi back to my place? And then the guy goes, sure, I can drop you off, then go home myself. He said, I woke up in the middle of that night and knew exactly what I had done.
Do you ever have those moments where you like shoot up out of bed in the middle of the night? You're like, that's what that meant.
Yeah. So I think that this guy, we hadn't hung out in a while. Like, I think that he just didn't think I actually wanted to like fuck him that night. I think that's like a thing that, and he's a good guy. Like he's just a good guy. He's kind of clueless. I would always have to kind of like be really direct with him. And so I just say that to be like, sometimes it's just, they really don't understand. You have to spell it out. But bottom line is what happened later with this whole story was maybe like a couple weeks after that, we were at your place. I was at your house. You had a couple people over and that friend was there, that mutual friend. And it came up, that whole situation. He was like, oh my God, I was with him that day. He didn't know you had booty called him. He was like, so like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. And I told him he was blowing it, whatever. And then what happened next was that our mutual friend told him to just like leave it alone and like not fuck with me anymore. And when he told me that, I was like, wait a minute. I didn't tell you to do that? You like took my dating life into your hands.
And never, you know what's funny is he never mentioned it to you. Like weeks went by and he never was like, hey, by the way, I took a monumental step on your behalf.
Yeah.
Like what if we're all just sitting around thinking like, I haven't heard from this guy in weeks. What if all of this is because their friend told them to stop talking to you and they just listened?
Yeah. And he knew the situation. Our mutual friend knew the backstory. He knew that he wasn't taking anything away from me. I think he was just like, dude, you keep fucking up. Get out and be on good terms with Ashley while you can. Like, I don't really think that's a girl you really want to piss off or like fuck with. You know what I mean? Like, I think that was probably how he thinks too. And, he's in our good graces and things like that. And I think he was just like, give it up. I never heard from that guy again until he reached out after Dewey died. He's a good guy. So I say, and I feel good about him. I don't feel burned by him in any way, but it was just so funny because had our friend not stepped in and been like, leave her alone, without my consent, but okay, then me and that guy probably would have DM'd and texted, and he would always just like pop up here and there. And I would be like, around. Should we date? Should we try to date again? Should we fuck again? And like, it was this weird feeling of like, kind of a relief that like he was out of my life because our friend told him without me knowing.
Also not because of you. You could be like, it's not because you didn't want to fuck me. It's because someone taller than him told him
someone
to stop
bigger than him. Yeah, bigger, taller, hotter.
Yeah. But like, it's just, people are like, why does he want to fuck me? I don't know. There's 1,000 reasons why somebody doesn't want to. Like, maybe that guy just wanted to be actually in your good graces and like just really like kind to each other. I don't know. He's like, I'm not going to fuck with her anymore.
Yeah.
Or maybe someone told him to stop fucking you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just feel like I've seen that guy make jokes about being like too lazy to like date or whatever, or like hook up with girls. And like, that's a thing too. Like, jokes aside, like sometimes guys are just lazy. They don't feel like, I don't know, coming into Manhattan from Brooklyn or whatever. Like guys, like we said, are just not always just like DTF all the time, whatever pussy they can get. And some guys definitely are. Like, everybody's different, but some guys aren't. And I just want to break that stigma of they're just always ready to go. But I do like the story because it's just that like I probably wouldn't have told that guy to like leave me alone. Like the outcome that probably should have happened because someone took it upon themselves to intervene in my dating life.
Oh, it's so nice though that he just like went away, like out of sight, out of mind. We're gonna talk about social media and blocking people and things like that and an episode coming up. But like, it's just nice when someone just ceases to exist. Cause like, you ever get that text from somebody after not hearing from them for 2 weeks and you feel great, you're like killing it. And that one text message is just like, God damn it. It's just like, I stew in it for hours. And I'm like, I just didn't need to think about you.
Yeah. And I do think we talk about this all the time. Like, that is a little bit more of a guy behavior that they will just pop up. You know what I mean? Like, they're bored. They want to see what's going on. They may or may not even want to see you or fuck you or even try, but they just want some attention in that moment. And so like, I just never had to worry about that again.
I know. It was funny though. You asked me earlier if guys ever misinterpreted if I wanted to fuck them.
Yeah. I was like, no.
I literally cannot relate to the situation at all. But you were like so forward. I'm also thinking like, I've never been that forward. My pussy is shaved and I just got a health check. Come on, what are you doing tonight? Like, I've never been that is such a crazy thing to miss. Like, and we're not doing this to save face. He genuinely did not realize that you were telling him to come over and fuck you.
And it's like, I hadn't talked to him in a couple weeks, probably. He knows I'm a comic. You know what I mean? Like, I genuinely think that he was like, that's funny.
That is so funny. No, but anyways, it's never happened to me.
I know. I asked her and I was like, has this ever happened to you? She was like, no, I'm pretty direct.
I can't imagine a scenario where plenty of people don't want to fuck me once I put it out there, but like, it's never happened. I put it out there and it didn't happen. We have a really fantastic guest with us today. She is so many things. She's an actress, a comedian, a filmmaker, and a writer. She hosts a top-rated iTunes comedy and social commentary podcast, Confidentially Insecure, and is currently a commentator on E's Dating No Filter. She's the author of the book, Don't Fucking Panic, The Shit They Don't Tell You in Therapy About Anxiety Disorders, Panic Attacks, and Depression. Please welcome to the show, Kelsey Darragh.
Yay!
Yay! Hi!
Thanks so much for having me.
Did we get it right? Is that all your things?
You nailed it except for one word. You said the podcast is confidentially insecure, which I love. It's confidently insecure. It's like a play on words, but confidentially insecure kind of sounds like a new format.
I was confused too. I was like secretly insecure or myself.
No, we're like proud of our insecurities here.
Yeah,
it's
confidently is different than confidentially. So I'm glad you clarified.
damn it. I worked so hard on these intros. I'm so sorry.
No, you crushed it. And I was
similar,
like,
spelled.
That's why Ashley does a lot of the reading on the podcast.
it's better than what my dad calls
Kelsey,
it.
I have to tell you, I did a podcast with this guy and he introduced me as like Raina Greenberg, Girls Got a Podcast about cooking, that it was a cooking show. And I was like, oh, you didn't even bother to look it up. Okay. So at least you know I bothered to look you up.
You totally bothered.
And read your book. Yeah.
That's like the biggest compliment in the world. I was telling you, it's like, you don't think about when you write a book. It's so personal. The same way, like doing a podcast, you're like, oh yeah, I'm just talking to my friend. And then you're like, now hundreds of thousands of people know about the dick I sucked last week. Like I totally get it.
Well, where should we start? I mean, do you want to give us a little bit of background on you? Not your like entire, I mean, if you want to tell your birth story and whatever, just but just kind
I'm
of more
a
like
Leo, double Gemini rising and moon. So I'm just like tons of emotion. No.
Okay.
Let's see. Well, I'm here to talk about anxiety, which is like one of my favorite topics to talk about, which if you would have told me that like even 2 years ago, I would have punched you in the face and like ran into a corner and taken a Xanax and like cried for 6 hours because anxiety plagued my life for so long. And what I set out to do when writing this book was really dispel the myths around anxiety versus high functioning anxiety versus debilitating anxiety versus panic attacks and panic disorder. So I'm here to promote the book. So I might as well start with, I guess, the mental health journey. I've been diagnosed with a generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, and major depressive disorder, which has been a summary of like 15-ish years in the mental health system. I've definitely been misdiagnosed, not diagnosed, not listened to completely, told I was crazy, told I was completely fine, that I was making it up, that I was hormonal, that I was just being a lady, you know, all sorts of things. So in my book, you kind of get to read all about my experience in the mental health system, as well as it being a workbook, which was really important to me, to make the pages and chapters different exercises, tips, tricks, and treatments that anyone can try to learn how to manage their unhelpful mental health thoughts and disorders.
Okay. And you've, you know, on your journey through mental health, you've worn like a lot of hats. You do a lot of things. You live in LA. You're a creative person. You work for BuzzFeed, right?
I worked there for 5 years. I still freelance for them, like on the side. I'm actually writing an email to them right now off to the side. Not while we're talking, but it's open.
like I'm multitasking.
That's how much I multitask. I can podcast and type.
It's the Leo and the Gemini rising in me.
Exactly.
So you put yourself in a lot of situations where people are constantly judging your work, everything you do, you say, you think. So I'm sure that played into it too.
Yes, absolutely.
And then you decided to write this book. So maybe we start with just your history with the mental health field and how you felt about seeking treatment just in general.
Totally. Like one of the good / bad things about writing a book about your own experience is that you have to dive back into those traumas and like talk about the worst, most shitty, fucked up parts of your life. And what I recognized actually through this book is it was so healing because I had always thought, and I talk about this in like my, public speaking and online, that I thought my first panic attack really happened when I was 17 years old. And I talk about the experience being on a plane, being very claustrophobic. I almost landed the plane because I was freaking out so bad. I thought I was having a heart attack. My mom had to give me bottles of vodka behind the flight attendant's back. Like it was bad. And throughout this book, when I started doing research and talking to different experts, because I am not a doctor, I should also preface with that. The point was writing a book from the point of view of the patient, not the expert. And I recognized that I actually started having mental health struggles way, way, way earlier on than I had recognized. Like I remember being, on my little soccer league, my little neighborhood soccer team, and I'd be going up and down the field, like feeling my heartbeat and like counting the beats and like talking to my friends and being like, is your guys' heart beating this fast? Like, how fast is my heart beating? And my coach is like, Kelsey, kick the fucking ball. And I'm like, I think I need to go to a doctor or a hospital. And, it was written off as like hypochondriac behavior. I was, the youngest child. My parents worked a lot. So it was written off as like attention seeking, or I just wanted to spend time with my parents. And I'd be like, hey mom, remember that time where I couldn't swallow and you guys took me to the ER in the middle of the night when I was like 8 years old? What was that? And they were like, we don't oh yeah, I remember we took you to the emergency room and they just gave you some Valium and we kind of went home. And I was like, never was it brought up about anxiety. Like it wasn't talked about back then. So in writing this book, I got to recognize, you know, my journey with the system and being put on medication was really stunted. And then it was like, once I did start seeking treatment and did go to therapy, it was like the floodgates open, baby. It was like 0 to 60 real motherfucking quick. And, you know, deciding to seek treatment was something that happened out of like pure desperation, not to get like too deep into like depression and, you know, that side of things, because I know this is an episode about anxiety, but it got so bad that I was like, I want to die all the time, or I go to therapy. And I was like, well, I guess I could try therapy first, and it doesn't work. Like I can always kill myself like later, you know? So, oh my God, it was bad. So going to therapy was like I said, the floodgates just opened. It was then like, you know, if you were willing to spend the time and money, we will throw anything and everything at you to try and fix you. And I make air quotes on fix because it's never about fixing someone. It's about management and kind of learning how everybody's bodies are different and, you know, taking the stigma away and taking those labels away from people who have mental health disorders.
Yeah. One thing I like that you differentiate in the book is like normal stress and anxiety, like if a bear is chasing you, versus anxiety, like social anxiety disorders and things that you deal with every day at work or with friends and things like that. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Like what your day to day was like, and was it like, what did it come in waves, or is it just like long, you know, weeks of anxiety and then you feel quote unquote fine, or like what was kind of like, and also, I mean, you're 30 now. Is that okay? And when did you seek treatment? Like,
yeah, my mom tried to put me in like child therapy, and I basically was like, I don't know this lady, I don't fucking like her, I'm gonna sit here, not talk to her, and waste your fucking money. And I probably went to like 3 sessions, and the therapist was like, she's just never gonna talk to me, so you might as well just like try and go somewhere else. Like I beat the game, I beat the system in my mind. This is in high school, and it wasn't until the plane incident where I almost landed the plane that my mom was like, we have got to go see someone. And they started me out on medication. And as I kind of started to open up to the idea that someone can struggle without bordering a line of like a severe mental illness, like what we portray in the media as unfixable, like a bipolar or schizophrenic, I was like, okay, let me just kind of like dip my toe in here and there. And so when I went off to college, you know, I made sure to prioritize having a therapist because I didn't realize that I needed that third party in my life. And I totally say that coming from a privileged position, because therapy is a major, major privilege. And in the book, I talk about that, what kinds of therapy, and how people who maybe can't afford traditional therapy can use other resources. But differentiating from just having anxiety, like everybody has anxiety, right? The Dalai Lama, Meghan Markle, you guys, me, we all have anxiety. That is not a bad thing to have. Everyone should have anxiety. Otherwise, you should like get your cortisol levels checked out. When it becomes...
I'm just too happy. I don't know. Ashley and I can't relate because we never...
No, I don't know what you're talking... What is it?
Amen. Yeah, I'm like, use it in a full sentence. But when it becomes disruptive in your day-to-day life, that's when we're getting into like what I call in the book anxiety disorderville population, many motherfuckers. And it's when it becomes, like I said, interruptive of your daily life. So it can feel like it's coming out of nowhere. It can be very intense for periods of times. It can feel like waves, but there is a stress response that your body has that doesn't feel valid, right? So it's either overproducing or underproducing if we're talking about depression, or it's overstimulation. And, you know, usually it happens when other people will comment on it, like, God, you just seem so intense about that thing, or like, why are you so worried? You know, it can come off really invalidating to feel these things, and you're like, well, my body is feeling these things, so what do you want me to do about it? Like, and it's yoga, go take a run, take a fucking nap, do some breathing exercises, and I'm like, I don't want to do any of that because I hate running. I just don't. My body doesn't run. And you know, the other thing is like it's putting a Band-Aid a bullet hole is how I look at it. So if you're using coping mechanisms, whether it be something healthy like breathing and yoga exercises, or in my case, heavily into alcohol and a little bit of drug use, then it can become, like I said, a Band-Aid over a bullet hole. And what I wanted to do with this book was really give power back to the reader to explain what is happening in your body when you are experiencing that high functioning or disruptive anxiety. And while it can be a superpower for a lot of people, like, you know, I consider my anxiety like fuel to getting shit done, to being like that boss bitch motivation, blah, blah, blah. It can also not be useful when I'm like at the grocery store or at an event, or, you know, in places in life where even, you know, you would start to recognize on your own, like, this feels like not right. Like I would always say to people, like, something feels wrong. Like, I don't know how to tell you that I just feel like I'm living with this fuzz over my skin that I can't shake off, and it feels overwhelming. So for people who are on their mental health journey, you know, it's so vital to check in with yourself, because what other people tell you, and therapists and doctors and loved ones and people that hate you, what people say will never be as validating or helpful as what you can know and learn about yourself. And you kind of have to trust that gut instinct and trust that you know your body well enough to know when something maybe isn't right.
Yeah. And I think that the difference might be, like you said, we all have anxiety. For me personally, I can usually place it. Like, it's, I know what it's from. It's like, if I drinking gives me anxiety the following day, I can figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
If it's not so obvious, I can usually dig a little bit deeper. But would you say when it's more debilitating and it comes out of nowhere and you actually don't know why, and that's probably like makes you then even scarier.
Yeah, because your body just starts to function at this level that it gets used to, and you're like, why is it like this? I'm sleeping well, I'm, you know, eating right. Yeah, everything's supposed to be good, but I still feel this way. And that's when we have to look a little bit deeper. And, you know, in the book, I tried to keep the modalities of treatment range pretty wide, because I know that, you know, Western medicine isn't for everyone. I've had such a black and white relationship with medication. You know, sometimes it's fully saved my life. Sometimes I've had negative reactions to certain things. So for me, it was about giving people the wide breadth of what treatment can look like and management can look like, because what works for you is not going to work for me. Like, you know, if someone finds something helpful that cures their anxiety, which I would always be a little cautious of anyone that says they can cure something, great. So thrilled for them. So happy for you. That doesn't mean it's going to work for me. So I've included things in the book that I did that fully didn't work for me, but I want people to know that there are options available, because it's such a fucking isolating thing when we talk about mental health. It's so stigmatized. It's so shameful and so embarrassing that it can feel like there's only one route to take. And I wanted to show people that there are so many people not only dealing with this, but so many ways that you could try to manage your life.
We definitely do want to talk about dating, but I'm also curious in terms of like just managing social situations and how you dealt with that, especially probably like in college, where like nobody's like in touch with how they feel. Like, I mean, I wasn't.
No one knows themselves.
College, but I'm sure it made social situations a little stressful, especially before you figured out like a cocktail of either medication or therapy
or literal cocktails
or actual cocktails.
And if you used like drinking to help medicate it or
totally.
Like that.
And like, I built this brand on the internet. A lot of people know me from BuzzFeed, or my drinking videos, or like my Facebook feed videos would always be about girls and drinking. And this was at a time too where we had like women finally being funny again, with like Amy Schumer and Tina Fey and all these women who, you know, our alcohol culture was so strongly related to like how much you can drink equals how strong you are as like a woman, which I had to really, really break down in my mind, because again, I had built up this sort of business of being a girl who can drink. And at BuzzFeed, that totally worked. The culture there was alcohol based. Our culture is alcohol, but dating is alcohol driven. Like, so when I would get into social situations, my first thing is booze, baby. And once I had a couple little drinky drinks in me, I could wow anybody. I was like the star of the show. The Leo in me would come out. I could like, oh my God, I could get anything I wanted. I could close the deal. I could suck the dick. I could do whatever I wanted if I just had like a little alcohol in me. Yeah. Well, the problem with that is you take away the alcohol and I don't know who I am. I don't know how to do anything. Okay. I don't know how to negotiate. I don't know how to promote myself. I don't know how to wow people. Am I funny enough? Am I this enough? Like I didn't think I could do it essentially. And I became very agoraphobic. And I talk about that in the book, that I became so worried about what other people were thinking of me that, you know, there were weeks that I didn't leave my bedroom. I started to imagine just disaster scenarios happening if I were to leave my place. And so something that I talk about in the book is it's a big giant page in bold that says like, the best news is nobody gives a fuck about you. And that's the best news ever. Yeah. Like this is kind of a tangent, but last night I was watching a documentary about gut health, which does link to mental health in many ways.
100%. Oh my gosh, I gotta watch that. I'm like, so I'm very into like gut health and
like, okay, then you're gonna like love this.
And I feel my all my emotions are in my gut. I'm like a certain type of person. It's like it's an
highly sensitive
thing,
person. You're an HSP. Same. We are more bacteria cells than actual human cells, and we have more bacterial DNA than actual human DNA. So we're not even actually human. We're bacteria with like human casing.
Good to know.
Good to know.
You are literally a bacteria.
Yeah, like we like nothing fucking matters. We're on a big rock orbiting the sun, and like
super
that kind
viral.
of that kind of like insignificance used to give me so much fucking anxiety. I'd be like, well, if nothing matters, and like we're all living in a simulation, like all of that shit used to freak me the fuck out. But in the book, I talk about like this idea that people with high anxiety and debilitating anxiety constantly feel like there's a spotlight on them. Like, why not? Why not? We're like, it's our life, honey. We're the star of the show. But that can turn negative in that you think people are thinking things about you that they really aren't. It's something like 80% of conversations people are talking about themselves, which is great news because we always think we need to impress. We need to be the best. We need to be on, especially in social situations, when the reality is once I recognized like, oh, everyone in here is kind of like an insecure bacterial like casing. Nothing does matter. Like if this thing doesn't go through, it's not going to affect me in any way. I have to just be present here and now. I don't need to think about disaster scenarios that could happen or something stupid I said in the past. It was really about bringing that mindfulness to those social moments.
And we do also forget when we're in social circles, like, because we're always in our heads. I mean, at least I am. How do I look? How do I sound? Was that funny? Am I oversharing? You know, do I look nice? Whatever. And I suffered from that a lot more in college, where I like constantly like thought about that. It's like, no one's thinking about you. They're thinking those things about themselves. Everybody else in the circle just wants to know how they, except for Ashley.
But then, no, I'm saying in college, of course, and I felt like I wasn't as pretty as my girlfriends, and I wanted to talk to boys, and it's like, but then people will remember if you were the drunkest person that fell. So it's like you drink to get rid of the insecurity, and then you're the sloppiest mess because you were trying to.
Or you're like a ball of like nerves. Like people notice how insecure and like weird you're acting.
Yeah, they're like, what is wrong with her? Smoke some weed. And that's where like you really start to define your habits at that age. And that was also kind of like a big moment I realized for me was like how I learned to cope with that anxiety, depression, or panic was how I implemented for years. And it was a lot of fucking unlearning. And that I probably spent more money unlearning unhealthy habits on coping than I did on seeking treatment. So for, you know, like the audience, I would say, you know, focus on developing those healthy coping mechanisms now, because it's like trying to start to run marathons when you're 30. Your knees are just like, honey, we never did this. We're never going to. Don't even fucking try. It's like the earlier you can start those good habits, the more your body will thank you as you get older.
So a couple things, this is a 2-part question, just to actually talk about what does work for you. Yeah. And then somebody that's sitting here listening, that's like, okay, yes, everything you say, I resonate with. I have anxiety. I have depression. I have panic attacks. Where do I start? And again, like you said, everybody's different, but like, what is your cocktail?
So like I said, I wish I could sit here and be like, you guys, everyone get on like 300 milligrams of blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, it's not how that fucking works. Like we know, we have a huge huge pharma problem. Like, that's another fucking episode. So don't get me started on that. Like,
I know.
We will pop off about
Dan Soder tried to do it too on the show.
He popped off about big pharma that I started going off. We were like, we need to, this is a dating podcast. So
I bought Dope Sick the next day. I like couldn't stop reading it. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's like, it's so funny you say there's a podcast about dating because like I feel like mental health is such a big fucking part of like dating
absolutely.
and dating conversations.
How could you
And,
date?
like,
I will talk about big pharma on a first date.
Listen, tell them, sis. Like me and my partner that I'm with now got drunk at an event and we literally were like taking shots and I was like, ugh. Okay, so I went to rehab once because I basically was abusing my Ativan medication and I am like severely fucked up. And he was like, shot. Okay, I have trauma stemming back from childhood. Like it was the most freeing. Like I literally get a boner thinking about it right now.
Yes,
like that's how I knew. Right? I was like, okay. And I write about, this should be a drinking game. Every time I say, I wrote about this in the book, everyone take a shot. You'll be fucking wasted by now. But I wrote about it in the book. I say this with such adamant confidence that your relationship will never be as successful as it could be if you are not willing to talk about your own mental health. And that also goes for partners, whether it be listening or being accepting and talking about their mental health too. It's never going to be. It's like paying to go to a therapist and then lying about it. It's like, why are we lying here? Like, let's get to the real. And if you don't know, it's scary. Like if you're just dating someone new and you don't have a diagnosis or you've never gotten help, I totally understand why you're kind of like, let me put a lid on this crazy until it fucking explodes in their face. So for people that are listening, you know, like you said, where do you even start? Acceptance with thyself, baby, is the first step. I think that's also like the AA step. I don't know. I never did AA, but it's really about knowing that it's okay to want help and knowing it's okay to not be okay and knowing that you're not going to lose your job and your friends and your loved one and like who you are just because you're accepting a part of yourself that you might have been like bumping up against for a really long time. So that is like my first step. And treatments, exercises that worked for me in the beginning stages was being creative. So whether it be journaling or painting or fucking dancing or jumping on a goddamn trampoline or like, you know, something that was healthy and not banging it out or snorting it or, you know, like doing the unhealthy version of that. Things like that in the beginning were just helpful in getting it out of my body because we store so much in our fascia, baby. That fascia is that muscle encasing. We carry so much trauma in our hips as women, as our shoulders. Like the body-mind connection is something I talk a lot about and write a lot about because there is such a relief and just saying, you know what, body, I'm going to give you 45 minutes every week in a therapist's office to just fucking be. I'm not going to hold anything. I'm not going to try and be strong. I'm just going to give myself. That's the best fucking gift you can give to yourself is to honor your body the way your body honors you.
Okay. And are on meds as well. And you don't have to talk about that if you don't want.
No,
but I think
you know, the only reason why I don't say specific things that I'm on is because number one, it changes all the time. And number two, I don't want people thinking like, oh, you know, if she's on Lexapro, say, like I should go ask my doctor for Lexapro because I don't think like bodies and brains work the same way. There are very like standard SSRIs and certain types of medications we put people on. But for me, it's like, I don't only have, you know, these anxiety disorders, but I also live with chronic pain. I also have fibroids and shitty periods. And like, there's other medications in the mix that people freak out when they first get prescribed something and they Google it and it will say, you know, this medication is often used for seizures. And what we find is that a lot of medications that Big Pharma originally was pushing for a certain thing had a side effect of mood stabilization. So now they prescribe anti-seizure medications for anxiety disorders. And people will see that and be like, that makes no fucking sense. Why am I taking these meds? I'm only reading terrible things every time I Google it. I'm just not going to do it. And it's like, that's not helpful for anyone. What you really should focus on is finding a psychiatrist, which is the type of doctor that actually can prescribe medication. Finding a psychiatrist you fucking like and can connect with and actually asks you about your life, because so many people think of psychiatrists as just the prescription writer and they don't know anything about you. They have a 20-minute appointment. It's like $250 and it's so expensive and inaccessible. And you're just like, well, I'm just grateful to be getting help. It's like, no, bitch, I'm paying for this time. I want you to listen to my life and my symptoms.
Yes, they should.
And it's up to them
everybody's
to
different.
help you. Yeah, it's really like we need to change the whole system. Don't get me started.
I also think when you publicize what type of medications you use as a public figure or just a normal everyday person, everybody tells you their opinions of it, and it's really open for discussion. And I like that you really hammer home that everything is really one size fits one. So just because something works for me doesn't mean I'm saying you should do it. And so I like that you sort of start with just like general coping mechanisms, and whatever kind of medication you take is what's right for you this week.
Yeah, and I actually made a video for BuzzFeed that went kind of viral, which is what started my like public media journey into mental health advocacy, was that I did a like stop motion animation using all of the types of pills I'd ever been just prescribed to tell my story. So, I actually got pills made and pressed that were like lorazepam or like Valium or Xanax, and I told stories through those types of medications. And the comment section, as widely and positively received that the video was, that whole comment section became people talking about prescription pills and it's terrible for you, or that thing killed my sister, and I've been on this, it made me get a bunch of weight. And it's like, we're not here to make people more afraid than they already are about getting help.
Right.
Just get the help. Just go see a doctor.
Well, and also like we obviously have a problem in this country with meds, but at the same time, I want people to believe in medicine. So I'm glad that you advocate for it, because you don't just meditate it all away. Sometimes we're all like wired and built differently, and we're so lucky to have these things.
We wouldn't have the problem we have. If we all had one fucking prescription and if we could all just meditate our problems away, and like by all means, some people fucking swear by that. Like, great. I don't have time to go sit in the mountains and meditate for 9 hours a day. That's not fulfilling for me. That doesn't like get me going,
I can't get Instagram in the mountains, so that's out for me.
Yeah, no service.
At least for me, like, and I would never venture to say I suffer from any type of anxiety disorders. But when I'm feeling anxious, I'm like, Ashley, I'd like to identify it immediately. Writing really does help me. I like to smoke a little weed and just make notes in my phone. And I just write it all out. I tend to be like a little more, I'm harder on myself, but more clear when I smoke. And I feel like I see things a little differently. And it helps me to just, here's the problem, let's write about it. And then I feel a lot better, at least that I know what the issue is.
Yeah. Huge weed advocate for mental health, huge for chronic pain. Like, I am all gung-ho about do what makes you feel good as long as it's manageable. Because when I did do my little like stint in mental health rehab, there was someone there that was there for cannabis use, and everyone was kind of like, that doesn't exist. You can't like smoke yourself into addiction. Like, it's not an addictive thing. But he had used it as a coping mechanism for so much that he couldn't, do anything without smoking. And so it's like, listen, addiction can apply to anything when it comes to terms of coping and like symptoms and usage and what we're, doing to cover it. And I love that you said you name it. Like, add that to the list of first steps into getting help, is even just being honest with yourself. And a lot of times that comes by verbalizing, saying it to a friend, having accountability, just naming it. It doesn't have to make sense. You can say, I feel, like, it doesn't have to be a fucking word, but just naming it is such a beautiful thing. I love that you said that.
And also, the only times in my life where I felt like I was having panic attacks and going to die was when I smoked too much weed. So I just we're all different. It doesn't work for me. It's the worst nights of my life. We're on edibles. So it's just like, that goes to show. Like,
I got those horror stories.
It's like, I wrote a note, like we joked, I was on a podcast.
You wrote a note too?
Well, my friends were like, you wrote a suicide note. I was like, no, I wasn't. I thought I was going to die. I just thought I was dying. I wrote the name of the guy that gave me the edible. And I was like, if you find me in my apartment, I was called my brother 12 times. It was like 2 a.m. And I was like, if I wake up feeling like this, like my life is over. And it was just a gummy. So I was fine. And I've never done it again. It happened twice. One time I just ate a whole brownie because I just wanted a brownie. I didn't know. And I was just like rocking back and forth, like on a vacation at this music festival. And it was, so it's just like, but it goes to show that we're all wired differently. This thing that could be like literally would help someone else get
totally
through.
saves someone's life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm not mainlining edibles and I'm stressed out. I take like 3 hits of a blunt and like journal in my phone.
Girl, you're talking to like LA. Listen, LA, the culture, and I'm glad it's changing. Like, I feel very lucky that we're getting to be living in the part of the time where, you know, not only are we destigmatizing and, you know, pushing for the social unrest, like, I love that the generation below us is so fucking smart. Like, I feel really lucky that I get to live in this time where I'm going to see so much shit change, including like weed use. Like, fuck.
Yes,
Don't let Big Pharma get a hold of it.
Oh my God.
We're bringing it back.
Let's talk about panic attacks.
Yeah, we're talking about panic attacks, and then we will talk about dating, how your partner can help you, and how you can help your partner to cope with these things.
For sure. Yeah. So panic attacks is something, again, if you would have told me 2 years ago that I could like be speaking freely and openly about it, I wouldn't have believed you, because even just thinking about it sometimes would trigger me into a panic attack. And in the book, I call that the panic attack about the panic attack. And it's like that Spider-Man meme where they're like pointing at each other. Yeah. And it's like, that is the most commonly feared thing about panic attacks is once you have one, you know what that feels like. And you're constantly in a state of anxiety, waiting, looking over your shoulder, assessing your, like even just saying it, that emotion that it evokes, if you've had one, you fucking know that it is unlike anything you could ever explain to someone, and wish that they could understand you, but also wish that they didn't, because you don't want them to ever have experienced that, especially if it's someone you love.
I think we throw the term panic attack around a lot.
Too lightly.
Maybe you could explain like the difference between like having a lot of anxiety and a diagnosed panic attack.
Yes. So anxiety disorder will usually manifest as emotional. So it's usually in our head, it's rumination, it's the stressed out feeling. It's very emotional. It's usually very internal. And panic attacks, anxiety attacks, panic disorder will materialize as physical. So that's when we get the sensation beyond just, you know, if you get butterflies in your stomach because you're nervous, that's okay. That's like anxiety. That's supposed to happen. Your body is having a response to a stimulus that is telling your brain something is wrong. A panic attack often feels like it's coming out of nowhere, that it has no catalyst. It manifests as your heart is beating, overly beating. You feel like you can't breathe. You feel like you're choking. You can't swallow. You're sweating. A lot of times your extremities will go numb. So your body is producing this very physical response where, there's disassociation, which is my scariest symptom, where it actually feels like you're outside of your own body, where you kind of feel like you're in the Truman Show. Either your reality doesn't feel real or you don't feel real. These are way more specifically panic attack symptoms and problems. Whereas society, I'll be standing in line and some girl will be like, oh my God, this line is so long, I'm gonna have a fucking panic attack. I'm like,
you're like,
no, you're not, Melissa. You're just angry and stressed out. Not that I am anyone to say whether or not someone is or isn't having a panic attack, but I will say you will fucking know usually if someone's having a panic attack, because it becomes outside of their own control, which anxiety is very much about control and learning how to let go of that control a little bit. So panic attacks, some people can have one and you never have one again, and you're just like, what the fuck, that was really weird. And then if you usually have more than one, you tend to be diagnosed with panic disorder, which then it becomes that thing of fearing the panic attack, fearing when is the next one going to hit. It's a very scary feeling, and it was something that I never truly never thought I would be able to live with. And the fact that I'm like here still and managing them and knowing when one is coming, knowing how to see the signs, knowing what environments give me those feelings is a fucking miracle. Like, I cannot believe I am at that point today where I can sit here and talk about a panic attack.
I'm so glad you are.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So is there anything you can do in that moment?
Yes.
For yourself? And then let's say, like, we'll talk about that. And then if your partner is having one, or your friend, or.
Yeah. So for me, it was really about not letting my high anxiety kind of roll into a panic attack. So it was finding a way to recognize it, name it, calm it before it got to panic attack central, and recognizing like what stimulants would cause me to feel those symptoms. So sometimes it happens for people after exercising, because exercise or, sex even can produce those same symptoms. Your heart rate is really high, you're sweating, you're kind of out of your body. And then people would have panic attacks after sex or exercise. And then you associate that thing with negativity, and so you don't do that thing, and we get really inside our heads and really inside our minds about the activity rather than the symptoms our bodies are producing. So for panic attacks, I decided I was going to write down realistic things that my boyfriend could do to help me through a panic attack, because he luckily has never had one. He didn't really understand it. He fucking does now, you better believe it. But he was really clueless because he didn't know what to do. He would touch me, I would say, don't touch me. Then I would say, I need a hug, and he would try to hug me. I would say, I'm hungry, I'm going to throw up. My mouth is dry, but I can't swallow water. Like, it was so confusing for him that I started to resent that he didn't automatically know how to take care of me the way maybe, someone in my life who's been around that for so much longer did. So I wrote this list. It went viral on Twitter about 15 realistic things you can help me through a panic attack doing. And it's everything from, the most important thing I think on that list is listening to my needs without judgment. So you never want to probe like, what's wrong, what's happening, why are you feeling this way? Because chances are they don't know. It's really about, how can I help and be right here in the moment with you without overstepping and also kind of panicking themselves.
Yeah. Are there some other things?
The list was great. I found it really insightful.
Read the list, but
Sure. Like I said, things will help for me, may or not help for you. For me, it's about reminding me that I've been through this before, because the scariest thought that I have during panic attacks is that this is going to last this way forever. It's like that David after dentist meme where he's like, it's going to be like this forever.
Yeah, that's how I felt when I was like, when I had the edibles. It was like, if I wake up and I feel like this tomorrow, that's a wrap. I got to be in a padded room.
Yeah, I hit a gravity bong once in college and was high for 3 days. And I was like, okay, on the fourth day, I'm done. I'm going to kill myself. This is it. I can't be like this anymore. It was truly a nightmare. And it's reminding that like, this too shall pass. You have been through this a million times before. It's every single time you think it's going to be the one that locks you into a padded room. It's not. And I found that because I get that derealization and that depersonalization symptom, that my boyfriend reminding me stories about my life and just kind of repeating facts back to me about myself helps. Like, he will say, you're Kelsey, we're here in, I don't know, Ralph's grocery store. You are loved. You are safe. He's even made me voice memos before, where when I would have to fly without him, I could pop my headphones in and he would be like, hey, bitch, you probably having a panic attack, aren't you? That's why you're listening to this. Like, I love you. You're being so silly. Like, don't worry. You're going to get there. Like, it was things that I would have never thought about. And actually, like, having a partner, being able to reflect like your reality back to you rather than dealing with them alone. And, I don't mean like you have to be in love in order to get over your panic disorder. Like, that person can be a therapist. That person could be,
or your mom or your friend,
your
me
friend,
and Raina, whatever. Yeah.
A dog. Like, I was training a foster dog to recognize my tics for anxiety, which is I would pull out my eyebrow and eyelash hair. It's called trichotillomania. And I would sit there, and when I would get stressed, I would start to pull my eyebrow hair out. And I was training my foster dog to alert me when I'd start to do that. And he got it.
Make me cry. We like don't deserve dogs.
We fully don't. I'm like, but so those are some things that I mean when I say like having someone who can reflect your reality back to you is like really fucking helpful.
And I'm just curious about your relationship. You go ahead and divulge as much as you want, but I think that it's easy when you're in love to share these things with people, but like, when do you share that? When do you bring this stuff up? I'm sure that a lot of people feel like, I don't want to scare someone and make them,
I mean, fully. Yeah, I totally get that. Like, first of all, everyone has their shit. If it's not going to be like anxiety disorder or like something mental health related, I don't know, they have fucking crazy parents or fucking like a herpes diagnosis. I don't know. Like, everyone has something that they're
Great
like,
advice.
I feel like it's going to be awful. And then it's not, because you care about the person, right? So like, going in with the mentality of like, nothing is to me undateable. Like, I have my boundaries on what it is.
Except someone that's it's like, I'm perfect and have no problems. That's the undateable person.
That's the fucking psychopath that you're like, I should run. Yeah, exactly. So for me, I was in a lucky enough position to where when I did start dating my current partner, I had been through the system. I wasn't managing it well by any means, but I definitely had the vocabulary to kind of talk about it. And I had the treatments and the, I had the knowledge of what it was. I wasn't doing well with it. I was in, one of the most anxious, panicky places in my life when I first met him, but I was lucky enough to know at least how to talk about it with him. And so for my advice that I always give is, as soon as you feel comfortable enough talking about it, I would talk about it with your partner, because maybe you've been in a relationship for a long time and this is the first time you're thinking about seeking treatment and you really don't know. And knowledge is power. And that's like the whole reason why I wrote the book, was really to give the reader confidence to talk about their feelings and say, you know what, as soon as I am accepting, I don't have to like it. I just have to recognize it. I don't have to give it a thought. I don't have to give it a judgment, but I know that it's there. I would start talking about it, because again, it's going to be more helpful if you have a supportive partner. And if you don't, if they judge you or they give you a hard time, bye. Your life is already hard enough. You don't need a fucking toxic person in your life that's never going to change, can't teach an old dog new tricks or whatever. People that don't believe anxiety or panic and depression isn't real, cut those motherfuckers out of your life as fast as
We could
possible.
all date anybody if it was just going to be surface level nonsense. We could all be in love with everybody if it was just like happiness all the time. That's not what relationships are.
Yeah, it's not fun.
One thing we got a message from a listener that her partner has more social anxiety, and she's more of a social person that doesn't have that really. And so she was kind of wondering how to deal with that. And so we'd love for you to touch on that when your partner has the anxiety.
Sure. And that was really important for me to include that kind of section in my book, because I knew that this was not only going to be for people who suffer themselves, but a toolkit for people who are like, okay, my partner says they've had this thing and I'm open to learning about it. So like, number one, God bless you. Like, we love people that like love people with mental health issues. Like, we stand that in this house. The tip that I always give is, first off, knowing that you will never be able to fix someone. You will never be able to be the thing or the person that makes them want to change and makes them want to get better and seek help and see, like, it's like leading a horse to water, but you can't make them drink it, right? I feel like we need to update that metaphor. It's like,
yeah, I don't want to be the horse. I don't want to be a horse.
Yeah. Anyways.
Guys, think about it.
Yeah,
we'll do a contest for an updated metaphor.
Let me know, because I could actually use that.
No, I love this so much, because there's this thing of like, you're going to come along and save somebody, and then they're going to be, as soon as they meet you, their life will change. And
we try to save people, right?
Yes.
We love somebody, we care about them, we want to help them, we want to save them. I've tried to, and I got to tell you, it is just, it's a fool's errand, because you're not going to be able to do it.
See, that's a better metaphor. It's a fool's errand.
Thank you. I've never said that before, and I don't know where it came from.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was fantastic. It sounded
so
very,
much.
very intelligent.
No, it's in the lexicon. It's there.
The lexicon. See, look, she's popping off today, y'all. Yes, like savior moments. We've all had them. We've all seen people who are like, I've been through that before, and if you just do this, this, and this, it's like the theme of the episode. What works for everyone is not going to work for everyone. So, with partnership, I highly recommend couples therapy if you can afford it, if you have access to it, especially if your partner is in those beginning stages of learning about their own, feelings or diagnoses or emotions. Sometimes you really do need that third party to look into the relationship to see, what are triggers maybe you have as a partner to them that won't help in moments of panic and anxiety, and how do you let that person know without it seeming offensive? It's like, you almost are too helpful. I need you to be less helpful. It's like, well, what the fuck do you mean? It can get lost in translation, and that's just going to cause more stress. So highly recommend, if you can have a couples therapist that you both really like and trust. Has been worked wonders for my partner and I. And then in the book, I also include some feeling sheets to look at facts and not feelings, because I am someone, like I said, Leo, double Gemini, where my first gut reaction is to go to feeling. I'm not like a logics person. I react off my gut, off of like what my body, right. We all know these people. They're us, highly sensitive. And my partner is not. He is like, well, let's write down the math. I'm like, there's no fucking math to panic attacks. Like, it does not exist. The limit does not exist. So being able to know that you can't fix someone, get a couple therapists if you can, and recognizing like your style of communication, whether it be someone, you know, I love the 5 love languages, I love Enneagram tests, I love like the FNJP bullshit, like whether it is bullshit like Zodiac or not saying Zodiac is, I fully obviously believe, if it helps you, who fucking cares? Like it's placebo effect too. Like if it helps you, I don't fucking care if you're like eating an orange once a day and you think that that keeps the doctor away, or it's an apple. Metaphors are so outdated. We gotta,
but I think like it's reading your book, like, and I'm not just saying that to like gas you up, but like it's knowing what your partner's going through. Because I dated someone that had a lot of trauma, and it started to really come up when we started to get close. Ooh, yeah. And I was so ill-equipped. I eventually did start going to therapy just to more so understand him and how to deal with him. Wow. He was just trying to figure his shit out the same time I was. Like we were just, it was so toxic and chaotic, and because it was all coming up together, and I just had no idea. And like I know so much more now, and it was kind of a catalyst for even starting this podcast. Like if you feel like if your partner has anxiety, they've expressed that to you, the first thing to do is like run and get a book like yours so you can try to understand them. You know, it doesn't need to, if couples therapy is not affordable or whatever, it's just like at least getting some resource so you can understand them fully, even more than they may understand themselves at that moment.
Because I think you're out of your league. You know, I think it'd be foolish to think that you can help. And
a fool's errand.
A fool's errand. Look it up. It's a real thing. I also like actually dated somebody with a lot of trauma, and I just thought like, he seems fine, but like it would manifest in all these other ways. And I was so out of my league and trying to help him. I just was like, well, maybe we can like update your resume and get you a new job.
LinkedIn will fix this. Like, holy shit. And it's a growth thing too, right? Like usually when you're in that early 20s year, like you're both figuring your shit out, and it's not, you know, wrong place, wrong time. It really just might be that you guys aren't compatible, and that's completely fine. And like I said, the earlier you recognize that shit, the like more you're going to save yourself. And that there's also free resources. Like, you know, if you don't have money to buy the book, go on YouTube, go on the internet as your friend, find some message boards. Like there's tons of couples with this thing. You can find fucking anything on the internet. So like, if you love the person enough, you will find a way to insert yourself in a way that is helpful. And like how that is might take a little bit to find out, but like it's love, baby. Okay. Love ain't enough every day. Love isn't always enough. It's going to be strife. It's going to be rocky. And knowing that that's not the end of your relationship is, I think, vital for me to remind myself. Like I'm a very black and white thinker. I'm like, well, if he doesn't understand this, then like we clearly aren't right for each other and we should break up. And then my therapist is like, oh my God, Kelsey, it was about like breakfast sandwiches. Like, and I'm like, oh yeah.
And I do think on the other side of the coin, sometimes it is the end of the relationship, and that's fine too. Sometimes we aren't equipped to help people. Sometimes we can't be in relationships until we go off and fix ourselves. And sometimes it's healthy to walk away. That's a whole other podcast, but you can only help so much. And, you know, in my last relationship where I dealt with this, I was never going to be enough to help him or fix him. He needed to go off and find somebody. He needed a different partner. He's with somebody that's just better for him. And I'm fine with that.
He needed to do work on himself too.
Yeah,
and like get a
put
job.
Your gas mask on before you put the other gas mask on. Gas mask? Oxygen mask. Don't gas anyone.
Just regular, mask.
Why are we
oxygen. Well, and I think about the girl that, you know, she doesn't have any anxiety. She likes to socialize, and her I think it was just her boyfriend doesn't. And I guess what I would say there is like, if you really care about the person, that's not a deal breaker, but hopefully he's working on himself. So I guess that's the only thing that would be, that's the first step, that he is aware that what he has going on is affecting the relationship. So it's like, if he's doing the work, she should respect that. And maybe she needs to recognize when it's happening, and she needs to make plans with her girlfriends more and deal with the partner. But I think for her, my question would be, I don't know the backstory, but is he working on this, or is he just like, I'm anxious and I'm not going out tonight. Sorry, we had plans. You're on your own. You know what I mean?
And like gaslighting you, like, I have a mental illness. And it's like, well, you're not fucking doing any of the work. Like you need to know your boundaries too as a partner. Like, I'm willing to show up to this. And if you show up to this, like, woo, everything's copacetic. If not, like, yeah, fucking, it's totally fine to walk away. It's totally knowing your limits.
And we did an episode about should you get back with your ex, and one of the things we talked about was, evaluating had the things changed that were a problem. And I think that you can split up and work on yourselves and get back together if you really love the person.
The brain changes. We know that scientifically. It's called neuroplasticity. Your brain has to absolutely change. And that's the best news of the fucking day, baby, is that like we can all change. No one's ever stuck the way that you are. And if they are, it's because they're unwilling to change.
Right.
Kelsey actually is a doctor.
Yeah, I know. Like neuroplasticity.
Well, when you're in a lot of offices, you tend to pick up on a couple buzzwords.
Yeah. Well, we wanted just a couple like short topics to kind of wrap up with. We wanted to talk about if you're open to it, that you don't drink now, right? And then that decision, how
Best thing
that
I ever did.
came about. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd love
Changed
to
my
hear
life.
about it.
I've done a ton of podcasts on like just sobriety in general. And I have a chapter in the book all about like alcohol use, drugs, anxiety, Sunday scaries, the weekend blues. Like, baby, I know exactly what you're fucking talking about. Where for 3 days I'd be like, I hate myself, I'm never doing this again. And then I drank the very next day, and it was a cycle for many, many years. And it is the best thing I've ever fucking done in my life, and absolutely nothing has changed, and absolutely not a single person gave a fuck. And I thought it was going to be this big like either parade moment where people are like, she is done, or people are going to be like, she's no fun anymore. Nobody gave a fuck. Nobody cares. It's never an issue. It's fully just been like amazing for me, and I highly recommend people to do what I call like a mindful drinking journal, and just to like percolate on those feelings of, if your brain is constantly telling you something, you should listen. Like if your body is constantly like, you really should cut back on the drinking. Like, we all have done that, but mindful drinking journal, like how much have you drank, stop in between each drink, write how you're feeling, write what motivated you to have that kind of drink, where are you, why are you there, like why are you drinking that thing, what happened today, like that also helped me. That was the thing that I did kind of like the last week I ever drank, was I stopped and took notes after every drink I had. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm just fucking, I had been done for so long and was just still drinking. And some people can drink and live and be amazing, and like more to them. Just for me personally, and usually for a lot of people who do end up quitting, it's the best thing that ever happened to them.
I believe it. I mean, I drink so much less than I used to, and I don't know, that day could come, but
with wide arms, we're here for you, baby.
Yeah.
And also no one's going to care.
I just love that you said that. Like, that was so funny. You thought people were going to have this celebration parade or just like shun you from socializing, and they never give a fuck.
Cared. No one gave a shit. And
also,
quarantine
as we get
helps.
older, there's just find other things to do, you know?
And we have so many friends that don't drink. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll find people like-minded people.
Yeah. How long have you been sober?
Dude, it's so funny you asked me that. I don't know. Over 500 days. Like, I think once I hit a year, I was like, I did it. And I know that's a thing, like in AA, where they're like, I have 6,024 hours, 200 minutes, and it becomes a Red song. I don't know. Like, it feels like forever, and also yesterday. Yeah.
No, we just wanted it general.
Yeah. 500 days, I think. Almost 2 years. Yeah.
600 minutes.
Congratulations. And how do you feel that it's like helped your anxiety?
Oh my God.
Obviously a lot.
Yes. Like, I would spend days ruminating over just dumb shit. My body physically felt like shaky, like a cold cat. Like, I just felt like a homeless cat that was always cold all the time, and like throwing up, and my mind wasn't thinking clearly. I wasn't as sharp as I was. I wasn't as funny as I could be, which is the opposite of what I thought. I thought drinking made me funnier and wittier, and on it was so untrue. And like, I was able to cut out a lot of toxic relationships too when I quit drinking, because usually it was the people that were also miserable and wanted just someone to drink with that I was hanging out with. And it just like naturally happened that way. And quitting was relatively easy for me. I come from a line of addiction, and I've seen people who really struggle with it. But for me, the first 2 weeks were the hardest thing in my life. And then after that, it was like I had quit drinking forever. It was like 2 weeks of the hardest fucking thing. And then I live fully. I feel like I'm shown up to life, you know?
I love that. Yeah, I love this. And now we've told people, we had Nikki Glazer on and she talks about her journey, and she has a book she recommends, and Chrissy Teigen, she has her book, Quit Like a Woman or whatever. And now yours too. It's part of your book. So we just love giving people these resources. We still drink. We're not, it's just like, it's your choice, but we are giving you guys the resources, and there are so many out there.
You know what helped me was that we did a couple of recordings. We didn't release podcast episodes drunk, but I have recorded myself when I'm drunk. You do. You think that you're funny. You're not. I thought that I was funny. I thought no one could tell how drunk I was. Untrue.
Girl, with the rise of social media, that's the other thing is I'm just waiting to end up on some front page of something, doing something fucking dumb when I'm drunk. And like, if that's what needed to happen for me to hit rock bottom, Lord, no, Lord knows I'm glad I didn't.
This is the real story, guys. Kelsey got canceled. No, I'm just kidding.
If you dive deeply into the internet, you will find some.
Yeah. And we just wanted to wrap it up with, like, if you have anything to say, we've touched on COVID a little bit. I mean, just people probably, they're at an all-time high when it comes to whether it's diagnosed or chronic or not, just general anxiety, sadness, do you speak on this at all?
Yeah. Like, follow that feeling. Like, we are going through a collective trauma worldwide right now, and like, recognize that this is not fucking normal, and that this is traumatic, and our lives are different, and people's lives are different. Money is different. Everything is fucking different. And like, giving yourself that grace to be like, just because you're struggling right now doesn't mean you have anxiety disorder, but, follow that feeling. And, I constantly, this isn't like sponsored, but I use BetterHelp, which is an online therapy app, which is something you can do during the pandemic. And I actually found that I love doing it online rather than in an office, not only because parking in LA sucks, but I didn't realize I needed to be in the comfort of my own home. I needed to be in like sweatpants, eating cookies, like, with the computer like this close to my face. Like, that changed therapy for me because I was so much more comfortable. So try online therapy.
I love that recommendation.
Keep your body moving, even if it's like getting a standing mat or like a yoga ball. Keep that body moving,
take
baby.
A walk. I'm gonna go take a walk right after this. I'm like, bitch, take a walk.
I will. I just leave.
3 more podcasts today.
I know.
You can't take a walk, Kelsey.
You just have to do some jumping jacks and sit back down for the next one.
Exactly. I'm like gonna get a little pedal under my desk, like.
But I love your stuff about like flow through it, go through it, acknowledge that like this sucks. It fucking sucks. Take a walk, eat healthy. Like, I feel like a different person when I eat a slice of pizza versus like a salad. Like, I feel physically different. Both of those things are good.
Gut health.
Like, follow it. Follow what you need to do.
Sometimes you need cheese pizza. Sometimes you do. Even if you're lactose intolerant, sometimes you just need it. But sometimes you don't. Most of the time you don't.
Yeah. Sometimes you'll eat cheese and feel sad. Like like
Ashley does sometimes. Cheese and eggs together, she can't do it.
I was at this, there was a point in my life where I was like, if I wake up and the first thing I'm big on the first thing you put in your body in the morning. I think you have a clean slate, and like what it always has to be fruit or something healthy. A couple times I just had cheese and eggs first thing, and then I was like depressed. I'm telling you, my gut like speaks to me. It's weird.
You were gonna love that documentary.
I'll have a meal and be like, why am I sad?
It fully is our second brain. They call it the second brain, which is funny because it technically should be the first brain, because it was the first thing that was developed in like mitochondria, was a digestive system, not a fucking brain. But I digress.
Kelsey, you're a doctor.
Dr.
Stop
Kelsey.
telling people you're not a doctor.
I'm not.
You talked about dealing with COVID, and I think your advice was great. If you have anything else,
listen to your podcast because it's great. That's
read your book.
Oh yeah, read my book. Listen to my podcast, but also you guys are doing a wonderful.
What
thing.
is it? Confidentially, stick your pin in it.
You have to say it again. I put so much energy and pride into like hyping our guests and just like going hard. I said the wrong name of your business. I hate myself.
No, you're fine.
It's truly couldn't care less. I'm so happy to just be here, but it's confidently insecure, and you can listen and all that.
Well, this is a good place for you to tell everybody they can find you. Obviously, book, website, podcast, Instagram, everywhere.
Yeah, at Kelsey Darragh on all the things, and check out Don't Fucking Panic. It's online on Amazon, or you can buy it on Thought Catalog.
Okay, this was amazing. Thank you so much.
Come on my podcast. I'm going to bother you now that I have your emails.
We will anytime, confidentially.
Yeah,
confidentially.
DM me, text me, whatever.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
And you guys know where to find us. girlsgottaeatpodcast.com, Girls Gotta Eat Podcast on Instagram, Ash Hess, Raina.Greenberg on Instagram, girls_gotta eat on Twitter, and youtube.com/girlsgottaeat. And we'll see you next week.
All right, guys, have a good week.
Bye.